Why, hello there. It seems that you're due for a little bit of a phrenology exam. Is this correct? Okay, excellent. Well, in that case, let's go over a little bit of the preliminaries prior to us beginning. So, a little bit of a pen, if not just this will do. So, here we have a map of all of the little lumps and bumps of your brain. Wherever there is a bump prominent in one of these regions, it denotes having a high level of that trait. However, wherever a spot on your brain has a diminished or dented form, that means that you are lacking in that region, or lacking that quality rather. So, for example, we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 categories. The moral, the reflectives, the self-perfecting, the perceptives, the spring, the anima, and the domestic. The domestic relates to the hearth, it relates to the home, it relates to how one develops a deep sense of bonds between yourself, between your spouse, between your children, and those that you deem close enough as family, practically. The anima is pretty much just instinct. It's your animal nature, that which is reduced down to merely primal instinct, I suppose. Spring is your stability, it's your sense of character, it's your sense of steadiness. Your perceptives is basically the way that you view the world. It's the way that you perceive the world, it's the way that you take it all in and how you interpret it. The self-perfecting is basically your goals, your aspirations, your ideals, and how you wish to aspire to those definitions or self-definitions of perfection. Your reflectives typically are your sense of understanding yourself in relation to others in the public, and the moral are your principles. What is your guiding sense of virtue? So, are you quite ready? I'm going to be feeling out the different bumps around your head, and then I'm going to also be measuring your skull. Yes, measuring your skull. I'll be checking the insides of your mouth to see how intact your teeth are, and through these little observations we can determine a more holistic composite of your identity, of how you have developed as a person, what strengths, weaknesses, position you have in society. How do you feel about that? Regardless, let us begin. We are going to commence with the back part of your head. Here we're going to find qualities such as amativeness, which will be located right about here, conjugality, which will be located right about here, friendship, which would be located right about here, continuity would be right about here, inhabitiveness right below, and then parental love, which would be right below. If you are receding, for example, if you have an indented skull, you would lack parental love, as in you yourself could not afford love for offspring or a child. Tell me, did your parent leave you sleeping on your back as an infant, or did they rotate you periodically through your slumber? Well, that could give some indication as to, perchance, why it is that you have the presence or absence of parental love within yourself for another. However, it doesn't excuse it. Then we have inhabitiveness. Inhabitiveness is how you treat your home. It's how you maintain it. It's what level of comfort you have in basically your responsibilities with it. Then we have continuity, which is basically your ability to concentrate on one task at a time. Then we have friendship, pretty self-explanatory, how you show up to your relationship with another person platonically. Then we have conjugality, which is how you show up to a matrimony between yourself and your spouse. And then we have amativeness, which is basically how one expresses sexual desire to the opposite sex. It is your ability to feel that sense of libido. Too much amativeness and you're going to have a problem. So let's begin exploring those 6 parts of your head. Permit me one moment. I'm just going to prepare myself real quick. Ready? I'm going to stand up and I'm going to ask you to just keep your head staying just as such. Stay still. Okay. Right now I'm feeling your amativeness. It seems that there's a little bit of a bump right there. Very interesting. Right now I'm feeling parental love. Fortunately, there's another bump right there. Very good. And now I'm visiting continuity. It's a little bit receded, just a tad bit. You can keep your eye on that. See if you can perchance work against your skull's nature. Let's go down to friendship. Okay. That's pretty well built, pretty standard. Conjugality is next. Okay. Excellent. And now, there we go. Just needed to double check my results real quick. When it comes to your continuity, it was a little bit receded. When it came to inhabitiveness, let's check your inhabitiveness. Forgot. Okay. A little bit receded. Unfortunate. Very unfortunate. Very interesting bag of qualities that you possess. We have a receded mark on continuity. We have a receded mark on inhabitiveness, but we do have a presence of both parental love and amativeness. And when it comes to conjugality, it is present along with friendship, but to a standard degree. So you seem to love the idea of having children and also having children, and you tend to have a very standard interpretation of what it means to be in a friendship and married. However, you do have difficulty focusing on one task at a time, and you do have difficulty maintaining responsibilities in the home. Keeping these 2 qualities in mind, we can compensate with other parts of the mind and see if you could manually make up for these weaknesses. So, now we are going to explore the spring part of your brain. This was the domestic part of your brain. This entire section was the domestic part. Now we're going to be exploring the spring part. This is where your steadiness, your stability is located in. Now, here we have qualities such as cautiousness. Very important. Cautiousness, the idea of being prudent, the idea of being mindful. Sublimity, the appeal of grandeur, the, love of the grandeur actually. And when it comes to cautiousness, prudence. When it comes to approbativeness, it is the ambition. It is a sense of wanting more for yourself. Self-esteem, basically self-respect, dignity. When it comes to firmness, it's basically making a decision and being steadfast, holding steadfast to it. It's basically determining something and not moving from that determination once made. Hence why you want to check twice, cut once, where you basically allow yourself the process to think and then make a decision, as opposed to making a decision, then thinking, reevaluating, changing your mind. That would basically be someone with a lack of firmness. Then we have conscientiousness. This is basically your perception of justice, your idea of justice. And that basically sums up the spring part of your mind. This will be located right about here in this region. Right here. Actually, right here. This is where the spring portion of your mind would be located, right above the anima. Here the anima is located, and here is spring. So stay very still. We are once again going to do a little bit of an examination. I want you to stay very still for me. Okay. I'm going to be assessing the top part of your brain, your skull, feeling for your self-esteem. There seems to be a little bit of a ridge there. How unfortunate. Let's go upwards towards firmness. Likewise, a ridge. How unfortunate. Let's go down to approbativeness. A little bit of a ridge. Unfortunate. Down to cautiousness. Yep, I found a bump. You are high in cautiousness. How excellent. Let's go over to sublimity. Quite standard, not quite anything of remark. And conscientiousness. Likewise, standard. Alright, let's review or reflect upon your results. So, as we review your results, please keep these ideas in mind and review as to where it is that we can fit them in. That being said, I will also assist you with the process. So, you were quite high in cautiousness, you were quite standard when it came to sublimity, and you were quite standard when it came to consciousness. Conscientiousness, rather. You were low when it came to firmness, and you were low when it came to self-esteem, and you were also low when it came to approbativeness. Now, this might have relation to your inhabitiveness, and this might have relation to your continuity. Continuity will lead to self-esteem. Inhabitiveness will be affected by your self-esteem and your firmness. Firmness also yields to continuity. And approbativeness also benefits from the strengthening of these qualities, but vice versa. If one is ambitious and completes one's tasks using continuity, then these other elements will be strengthened or reinforced as well. Now, consciousness is overexerted or very prominent, consequently, because all of these qualities are lacking. So, when one lacks in firmness or in self-esteem, one is naturally going to feel a little bit scared of the world. Now, when it comes to phrenology, one must often ask, can the skull be reshaped? Can these qualities be improved? Can I ever change? Or am I practically predestined by the fate of my skull shape? That is an excellent question. It's basically similar to, is it nature, is it nurture? At the end of the day, one can try valiantly. For what else are you going to do with life? Continue on failing, or try to defeat your fate? Now, let's further keep discussing your fate. So, we are now going to be discussing anima, your animalistic instinct. So here we have another 6 qualities. It is vitativeness. It's very difficult to sometimes say some words when it has root words that are like Latin. It makes it a little bit challenging. Vitativeness. We have combativeness, we have secretiveness, we have destructiveness, we have acquisitiveness, and we have alimentativeness. Alimentiveness is basically your appetite, your hunger. Vitativeness is your love for life. If it is pronounced enough, it means that you have a deep love for life. You're an adventurous soul, and if it casts a shadow, that means that you actually prefer to love life at night. When it comes to combativeness, it's basically your ability to defend yourself and take action. It's your ability to resist. When it comes to your secretiveness, it's basically your tendency to conceal. It's your tendency for privacy. When it comes to acquisitiveness, it is your accumulation of wealth, your desire to have more and more. And when it comes to destructiveness, it's your capacity for violence and even perchance taking the life of someone else. Now, when it comes to secretiveness, if it's over pronounced, that could be someone who shows some deceptive tendencies. When it comes to destructiveness, if that's even pronounced slightly, regardless, it shows someone who is very ill-tempered. When it comes to combativeness, that one is good to be pronounced because you are defending yourself, and it is very excellent to have the capacity to physically defend yourself when presented with a dangerous situation. And when it comes to vitativeness, a love of life is great, but if it's overpronounced, you might be someone who's a little bit indulgent. Acquisitiveness is also good, but sometimes it can yield to greed. And alimentiveness is also something that could yield to gluttony. So I'm going to be inspecting your ear. I'm going to be going up that side this time. I'm going to be just giving a little check. So stay still for me once again. I'm going to just go here and inspect your ear. Okay, let's see what's going on here. I can see from your vitativeness. Oh, yep, okay. It's pronounced. And does it cast a shadow? A little bit. You enjoy dusk. And up here, your combativeness is also pronounced, but adequately so, only slightly pronounced. Up here, your secretiveness, it's a little bit pronounced, but not too much. Your destructiveness, that's just standard. Excellent. And then your alimentiveness, that one's a bit pronounced. Okay. Once again, let's review the chart. So, when it comes to your animal instinct, your vitativeness is It is pronounced. It casts a little bit of a shadow. That means you prefer dusk. Your combativeness is pronounced. You have the capacity to defend yourself adequately. Your secretiveness is also pronounced. You have the ability to conceal your private business, but not to a deceptive degree. Your destructiveness is quite standard. You have a normal propensity for it. You would take a while to reach such a point. Your acquisitiveness is also standard. That would also match your approbativeness. Essentially, you have a very come see, come saw perception of the world, but of course, who doesn't want a level of stillness in their life, which could come from acquisitiveness? Could come, not guaranteed. Alimentiveness is a little bit pronounced. You could keep an eye on this. Alimentiveness is a little bit pronounced. Now, the next section that we are going to be examining as a part of your skull is your moral capacity. So, in your moral capacity, we have veneration or respect for the divine. We have benevolence, which is kindness. We have spirituality, which is faith or intuition. Difference between veneration is a devotion or respect. Meanwhile, spirituality is intuition and faith. Hope is basically the expectation and the belief in an execution towards that expectation. So taking action towards an expectation would be indicative of hope. And imitation, essentially copying, patterning yourself around these qualities. They're all together for a reason. So these qualities can be located at the very tippity top of your skull, leaning towards the front, but not towards the front, right about here. From here to here, from here to here. So, are you quite ready? Excellent. Let's begin your examination. Okay, let's see right here. Your veneration is a little bit ridged, just a little bit, but your benevolence is a little deeper. The ridge is even deeper. Let's check your hope. Oh, that's a little bit ridged. And your spirituality. Oh, there's a bump there. Interesting. And your imitation. Another bump. Excellent. That's a very curious set of results. Quite concerning. Quite alarming, actually. Let me just pull up my hair for this bit of information. It is quite concerning. So, when it comes to this bit of information, let us review. You have low hope, you have high rate of spirituality, low veneration, low benevolence, but high imitation. Can you tell me what that indicates? Well, spirituality is the relation to the spirit world. It's the relation to faith and intuition, to see that which doesn't exist, to see that which is beyond the material world. And so if you have the quality of imitating the spirit world, but you don't have a belief in kindness or benevolence, you don't possess hope, and you don't particularly respect or devote yourself to anything, who do you think you are worshipping or imitating? Interesting questions. Very interesting. I now see why some of these qualities might be a little bit underworked. So, now, let us move on to the self-perfecting region, right here towards the side. Right here. We have mirthfulness, wit. We have ideality, which is refinement and taste and purity. And we have constructiveness, one's ability to basically be capable of mechanical ingenuity, basically be capable of working things in a system. So, let's see how this is going to fare. Stay still. I'm going to feel this part out. Mirthfulness is doing quite well. You seem to be someone who has a lot of fun. You seem to be someone who's quite witty. Going down to ideality. This one is a little bit low. Makes sense. And finally, constructiveness. Low. Very interesting. Very interesting. So it seems that and this does seem to have a bearing pattern throughout your results. Your mirthfulness was prominent. You are someone who is quite witty, you enjoy having fun. Your ideality, though, was low, meaning that you don't have an ideal that you aspire towards. You don't have anything grander than yourself. And consequently, your constructiveness was also quite low. You don't have motivation to create anything. It seems like you're a little bit lost and imitating qualities that perhaps are beneath you. But once again, are these things that you can fix? Or does your skull predestine you? On to the next region. This region is going to be reflectives, your ability to reflect on yourself. We have human nature, agreeableness, causality, and comparativeness. Now, causality is basically the understanding of cause and effect, how one's consequences bear on reality or on society, and vice versa. Human nature basically is the perception of people's motives, of your own as well. The comparativeness is measuring yourself in comparison to others and where you stand, and agreeableness is your ability to be pleasant to be around. So these qualities are going to be found towards the front of your skull, right about here. Once we hit your ridge bone, we will be entering the perceptives around your eye area, but right about here is your reflectives. So let us do a little bit of an examination. Stay still for me. Okay. Human nature is quite standard. That's relief. Comparativeness is a little bit high. What a shame. Agreeableness, very high. Oh, that was very prominent. And causality is low. Interesting. Very interesting. So let us review. I thought there was a spider. You ranked low in causality and human nature, but very high in comparativeness and agreeableness. What this tells me is that you might be worshipping human nature a little bit by comparing yourself to others, imitating them, having a level of spirituality where you mimic the traits that you deem surround you, which could lead you into some boiling water. Because of your agreeableness, you are quite a pleasant person. However, due to this sense of lostness, you don't quite understand causality, and you don't quite understand people's motivations. In fact, it is their very same motivations that might be disadvantaging you. So I would keep cognizant of these qualities of yours. At the very least, you can remain cognizant of these qualities, so that way you can actively protect yourself and from the traps that could be presented to someone of your weak disposition, while also admiring the strengths that you possess, such as agreeableness, parental love, amativeness, and so on and so forth. So now we're going to be moving on to your perceptives. Your perceptives are right here, right below your eye is language. Right above your eye, towards the front right here, is individuality. Size, as in your ability to perceive the mass of an object. Weight, once again, your ability to perceive the weight of an object. Color, your ability to perceive and judge color. Order, your ability to assess systems and arrange them. Calculation, your aptitude with mental arithmetic. Eventuality, which is your memorization of facts. Your locality, which is your recollection of places. Right here, right here. Time, your ability to process durations. Tune would be closer to about right here, rather. With tune, it's basically your ability to discern harmony and melody. And vibativeness. I believe this is your ability to Yeah. I believe this is your ability to process language, not language, but words. I believe. Now, let us begin with your examination. I will remain seated for this one. I merely need you to look forward to me. I will be examining underneath your eye first. So stay still. Your under eye is prominent, so your sense of language is quite good. I'm going to be... stay still for me. Your sense of individuality is a little bit underdeveloped. I'm going to feel on top of your eyes real quick. Your ability to perceive size is standard. Your ability to perceive weight is standard. Your ability to perceive color is standard. Your ability to perceive order is a little bit recessed. And your ability to calculate is standard. Let's check your eventuality. Your ability to memorize facts. I'm going to go a little bit higher in your skull here. Okay. That is a little bit recessed. Going towards the side. Locality. That one is, I feel a bump there, so strength there. Time. Standard. Tune. A little bit recessed. And bipeditiveness. A little bit recessed. Okay, so you pretty much ranked standard in most of these qualities, but you did have a pronounced sense of language and a pronounced sense of locality. However, you possessed a low sense of individuality, a low sense of eventuality, and a low sense of bipeditiveness. So with that concludes the examination when it comes to the bumps on your head. Now I'm just going to be measuring your skull really quickly. Stay still. I'm just going to take a couple of little measurements here just to see the shape of your skull. Okay. Alright. Okay. Put that to the side. You are of average disposition in your skull shape. It's a very typical skull for a person of your sex. Now, I'm going to be measuring your facial features, the distance between your eyes, the length of your nose, the width of your mouth. So stay still for me. I'm just going to go in between your eyes. Okay, very good. I'm going to be measuring your brow, the distance between your eye and your brow. Very good. Other side. Very good. Now the length of your nose. Stay still for me. Very good. Now the width of your nose. Very good. Turn to the side for me, please. I'm going to be measuring the bridge of your nose, or rather, yes, the bridge of your nose, to see the slope of it real quick. There we go. And now the width of your mouth. Okay, the gap between the tip of your nose and the top of your lips. Very good. And now the distance between your eyes and your ears. Okay. Very good. And now the shape and length of your ears. Okay. Okay. Alright. Very good. It seems that your face is standard. We're going to be measuring your jaw now. Stay still for me. I'm going to take just a few measurements. Just a few measurements. Standard. Now, if you wouldn't mind, open your mouth for me, please. Open your mouth. Going to be just feel feeling out your teeth. Just want to see if they're all intact and how clean they are and how well kept they are in this shape and how they are positioned within your mouth. Okay, very good. You can close your mouth now. Very interesting. Going to note that down. Well, it looks like you have had a complete examination. Once again, you seem to be someone who might be lacking a little bit in the deeper qualities of your life. I would highly recommend reevaluating your life and seeing if there's anything of an ideal nature that you can aspire towards. Perfection, the idea of good, essentially. Aside from that or otherwise, you seem to be someone who might be being carried away by the tides of time and by the tides of society, human society. So I would try to keep that in mind, so that way you're cognizant of it. That way you don't find yourself confused and lost within a world in which you don't recognize anymore, in a world in which you have been lost to time, like some sort of fossil, like some sort of dinosaur. Nonetheless, do you have any questions for me? Any queries, quandaries? No? Well, in that case, I hope that you have benefited from this exam, and I wish you well. Ta-ta.